The US is set to rejoin the Paris Climate Agreement. That's going to lead to a number of impacts. The first one is around political messaging and symbolism. It's a clear message of the return of the US to the multilateral system. And the second thing is obviously that, the US bearing an enormous responsibility when it comes to climate change, it will add pressure to a number of states that have not been getting their act together to do it very quickly. And I'm thinking particularly of Brazil and Australia. So the second effect is around shaming absentees, essentially, or spoilers. And the third, order of impact will be around structural shifts to the economy. The day after the Georgia elections and the certification of the Biden election, markets have reacted in two specific ways. The Tesla shares skyrocketed, and commodity prices reached a new high, marking actually the beginning of a boon for items related to the decarbonized transition. So to a certain extent, the US rejoining the Paris Agreement is a lot like, the final countdown essentially to the race to zero. It has officially started, and it's a geopolitical component to reckon with. There are a number of things that the world can expect from the Biden administration when it comes to climate policy. Let's start at home. For the first time in over 10 years, the Democrats hold the presidency and a majority in the Senate and Congress. That means that whatever climate policy Biden ushers, it can be turned into law. And quite compellingly, there should be, within the next year, a climate law binding essentially the net neutrality for 2050 for the US. Now, on the foreign policy aspect front, there are a number of things. The first thing is that Biden wants to organize a climate world summit very quickly in his presidency. So this part is a bit unclear because we already have the COP26 scheduled for the end of the year in Glasgow, which is going to lead to a number of negotiations around how countries around the world should set legally binding commitments towards net neutrality. It is quite likely that if Biden goes ahead with this Climate World Summit, this will double down on the negotiations leading up to the COP26. In this case, in any case, we will see a rapprochement between the UK and the US in the lead up to this COP. The second thing is that Biden wants to merge somewhat climate and trade policy, or at least make trade policy subsumed to climate targets. This makes a lot of sense, and this is the part that's been missing for years. And Biden should do well actually to cooperate with the European Union and other like-minded partners in the next few months in order to co-design a joint carbon border adjustment mechanism. This would essentially work as a carbon tax, incentivizing other countries who want to export to the US market, the EU market, and others to come clean, quite literally, on their transition, and to actually usher again, or to come through on legally binding and economically sound policies towards their transition. And the final thing is that President Biden has been known throughout his time in Senate to actually lead on debt for nature swaps. This is something that he's likely to take up again as president, as well as lead on the debt reduction targets in the face of climate impacts for poorer nations. In addition, Biden plans to approach countries that are part of the Belt and Road Initiative with alternative development plans. This is actually a really interesting entry point because the BRI is part and parcel of the Chinese policy for outsourcing various types of pollutions to third countries that have little in the way of ESG standards. So this is very smart. And the fact that he appointed Samantha Power to the position of USAID director is a very, very good signal and a very good symbol, because she has the right background and right character to empathize with the complexities of development. Charting new development pathways forward in the face of climate disruption and geopolitical instability is going to be an extremely important, albeit very, very difficult jobs going forward.